Hey Deckers, Dead Island 2 is available now, and just because it isn't available on Steam right now, that doesn't mean that you can't play it on Steam Deck. I am pleased to announce that this is working fully fine on the Epic Game Store on Steam OS. Huge shout out to Deep Silver for providing us a game code so we could check this out. If you need a guide for how to install this on Steam Deck, then you can check out the link in the description below to how to get the Epic Game Store installed. As you can see, it's running perfectly fine and we can get 60 frames per second for the most part if we run those low settings, and I'll run through the settings in just a second. But first, unfortunately, if you run this through Proton Experimental or the default Proton, the cutscenes do not play. But fortunately, if you switch over to GE Proton 755 for the game and launcher, everything works perfectly fine, including the cutscenes. Now, the cutscenes are pretty epic in this game, so you do want to watch them. They're not something that you want to skip, and I absolutely love the humor of this game as well. Now, running this game is quite challenging on the Steam Deck, although it is extremely well optimized. Even the medium settings will not give you a completely stable experience, and there are some really cool graphics in this game as well. So if you do want to run this under the medium settings, I would still recommend dropping the screen space reflections down to low, and you will get between 40 and 60 for the most part in a lot of the areas. This is one game that the intro sequence is a great depiction of how the rest of the game plays. There's no over optimization of the intro sequence. What you see is what you get, graphics and performance. So if you are seeing something that you don't like during this initial sequence, then you can go and tweak those settings to get the balance right. In later gameplay, I did find that the low settings were needed to hold 60 frames per second more solid, but I do have to admit that it does look exceptionally good even on medium settings. If you do want to run medium, I would actually suggest capping this at 40 frames per second to keep that consistency, but if you don't mind it wavering around somewhat, then you can leave it uncapped. Low is definitely the most stable, so if you go for the low preset, this will keep you up in the 50s and 60s for the majority of the time, 60 for a good portion of that, but it will still dip down even into the high 40s on some occasions when there is a lot of effects going off on screen, or if you're loading into a new area at the same time. The combat is very fluid and the comedy is definitely there as well, and I have even more good news. There is a bunch of Twitch drops from today through May 17th. So if you do want to get some cool gear and skins, then do check out those Twitch streams. And in even better news, if you do want to play this with friends or even with some randoms online, once you get to the Calvary mission, you can join or have people join your sessions. This is also working perfectly fine on the Steam Deck through the Epic Game Store, so you actually have multiplayer. So you can play online with either 2 or 3 players. As you can see online, it does even go down into the 40s, even with those low settings. So playing online, you may want to cap this at 40 frames per second as well. But to be completely honest, I do think that my best settings for this game overall are medium preset, VSync on, motion blur off, Steam Deck capped at 40 frames per second, and the screen space reflections on low. Let us know in the comments below if you're diving into this one. I'm going to be having a lot more fun with this, and we'll see you in the next one.